Hi, it's Sean from Lawnright. I want to talk to you about the 3 phases of watering that you need to go through when you're watering new grass seeds. I often get asked about watering, and in particular how often you should be watering new grass seeds. Now there's more than one way of answering this. So first of all, how many times a day do you actually water your grass? When you've got new grass seeds and you're trying to get them to come through, how many days a week should you be watering? What is the schedule? What is the frequency? What is the best way to get it sorted? I mean, clearly you've put a lot of hard work in, you've done all your preparation. The last thing you want is your lawn to fail at the last minute. So I'm going to explain all of that in this video. Now, over the last few decades, since I've been looking after lawns, treating lawns, fertilising, weed killing, etc., I've developed my own regime of what works and what actually works best. These are what I feel are the best watering practices when it comes to seeding a new lawn and established lawns as well. So I'm going to explain all this now. Even if you're just filling in bare patches, you want to know what is the best way of watering. So let's go into it. So what I've found is that it's critical for the first few weeks to keep your seeds nice and damp. This basically means just keeping everything nice and damp until everything's germinated and it's all come through. So it can take as little as a week, but usually it's 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And you need to keep this regime up until it's all germinated and it's all come through. What will happen is it will germinate in stages and in patches. One part of your grass will come through and another part won't, and you'll think it's not worked, but just keep going. So typically it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks on average for this first phase of watering your lawn. So when you look and you've got your hose pipe and you turn it on, if a nice mist comes out or fairly fine and you let that fall down onto the ground, you'll see it might take a couple of minutes to really thoroughly wet one particular area. Whereas if the amount of water coming out is a lot heavier and you're letting that fall onto the ground, it might only take 15-30 seconds at the most. So it all depends on your hose pipe, your setup, and how much water is coming down. But the key is just to make sure that you get all of the seeds damp. So it all comes down to your particular hose pipe, your particular sprayer, and your water pressure. So you're going to have to be the judge of that and set things up accordingly. Now, I often get asked, should you use a sprinkler? Well, now a sprinkler is fine if it is a nice fine mist of water coming down. Some of them are quite heavy, and a heavy jet of water coming down can actually move some of the seeds around. And it's the same with sprinklers which leak. You get a puddle forming around the actual sprinkler itself, and that puddle lifts the seeds up and the top dressing, and they float and they move around. So you've got to keep on top, and you've got to keep an eye and figure out how long each section is going to take. So the finer the mist, the more forgiving it is. Now a sprinkler is usually fine when you've got some existing grasses. The existing grasses tend to hold the seeds and the top dressing in place a little better than if it's completely bare soil. If it's bare soil, you really want to make sure it's just a nice fine amount of water coming down, nothing too heavy. What I would do in that case is literally just use a hose end attachment. Now the hose lock ones are great, they're about £7 or £8, and you just plop it in and you hold the grey and you turn the yellow. And for me, that is my own personal favourite way of watering the grass, and you can adjust from a nice fine mist to a long jet. Sometimes with the long jet you can aim it towards the far end of the garden and just keep it moving quite fast. So even though it's fairly heavy coming out, it's being dispersed across the whole lawn. So how long do you think you should actually be watering for in this first phase? Well, the main thing is you've got to keep watering until it's all come through. How many times a day should you be watering? Well, you've got to keep it damp. So when it's early spring, probably twice a day, morning and evening. If it starts to get a bit warmer, up it to 3 times a day. If we get a heat wave, 4-5 times a day. What you don't want is for the seeds to dry out. If they dry out, there's a chance that the seeds are going to die off. So depending on the temperatures, the time of year, will all depend and determine how fast the new grasses actually come through. But like I say, it could be as little as a week, it could be anywhere up to 3 or 4 weeks. So now we've got the grasses, they've all come through. Now we move on to phase 2. Phase 2 of watering is a ramping down. Now don't just go from watering 5 times a day to nothing. You want to ramp down over a week, possibly 2 weeks. But a week should be absolutely fine. So for example, day 1 of this phase 2 could be watering twice a day. Day 2, once a day. And then you might miss day 3 and then water again once on day 4. Miss day 5 and then water again on day 6 and maybe day 7. Just once, perhaps twice if it gets really hot. So you're not stressing it out too much. It starts to get used to what's going to be happening. And then we move on to phase 3 of watering. So now we're on phase 3. And it's no longer about a light misting, a light damping down. The grass has come through. The grass is looking lush and green and healthy and vibrant. But the roots underneath are still shallow. It's new. It's baby grasses. You grow a plant in a pot. The plant comes up, but the roots are really small. Now it can take months for a grass to become really well established. 6 months, 12 months. So what you want to be doing for basically the foreseeable is watering once or twice a week, but deeper. And when you do this, you're putting a lot more water in. So instead of watering for 5 or 10 minutes, you may be watering for 15 to 20 minutes, but just once or twice a week. And with the deeper watering, it actually forces the grass to push its roots deeper down into the soil to search for the water. And what that does, it creates deeper roots. And deeper roots means a stronger, more resilient plant. And that's what we're after. Make sure your mowing practices are good. You mow 2 or 3 times a week. Just take the tops off during this whole first year. Don't mow it too short, unless you are going for a really short lawn and you mow regular, where if you're cutting it 10 mil, you want to be cutting 3 or 4 times a week, and you're only taking off like no more than a third or a quarter at a time, so you don't stress the grass out. So this is basically what you want to be doing long term as well, especially when there's no rain. Now, I forgot to mention that if there is rain on any days when your seed is germinating, you don't have to water because the rain has done the watering for you. If it rains in the morning, you can forget the morning watering. If it then dries out, then keep up with your watering. So thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, comments, please leave them down below. Hopefully you've just about got any renovation work done now. You've prepped your ground, scarified, aerated, overseeded, top dressed, and you've got your seeds down and you're wondering how much to water. Hopefully this has helped. If you've enjoyed it, a thumbs up would be amazing. Feel free to subscribe if you want to. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next video. See you again.